So, good morning, everyone. Well, Ashutosh, am back again with the topic Fire and Ice, written by Robert Frost, translated by Ashutosh. So, right now, I'm here to discuss another poem from Robert Frost in chapter 1, that is Fire and Ice. What does the term fire and ice suggest to you? The poem itself is capable of elaborating the contents hidden in it. So when we are discussing about fire and ice, it contains a lot more information regarding the mankind, regarding the devastations which mankind is going to bring in his life. So at first begin with the poet Robert Lee Frost, who was born on March 26, 1874 and passed away on January 29, 1963. He was an American poet. At first, his work was initially published in England before it was published in America. There might rise a question in your mind that though being an American poet, why was his work published in England? So, there is a story related with that. What had happened when Robert was writing in America, many of the American publishers denied publishing his work. They even charged him that his writing was so abrupt that it can even uh, harm the audiences, it can harm the readers. In fact, it can bring their market also down, and that's why Robert Frost was unable to get his work published in America. So he moved to England. Over there he attained his mastery, he attained his popularity, and after gaining that popularity he again returned back to England, America, and after that he attained his mastery over there. He also wrote realistic depictions of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech. It was marvelous. Frost was actually writing about settings from rural life in New England. Means whatever he has observed in the villages of England in the early 10th and 20th century, he has described them in a very detailed way. He was also using them to examine complex social and philosophical themes. Means he was somewhere writing about uh, situations prevalent during that course of time. You can find many of his writings dealt with the village life, the country life, when you will read the poems like The Route Not Taken, or you can go through the poem The Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. So these all poems tells us about his mastery, and for that mastery he was honored many times. He was the first person who has received 4 Pulitzer prizes for poetry. You can easily understand a Pulitzer prize is the highest award for a writer in the field of writing, and he has attained 4 of them. In fact, he became one of America's rare public literary figures. Means he was one of the very popular writers of that era. It also dealt with an artistic institution. He was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. He was awarded with the Congressional Gold Medal in 1960 for his poetic work. So he has attained a mastery over there. While on July 22nd, 1961, Frost was named as Poet Laureate of Women. Poet Laureate is that person who becomes the national or celebrated poet of a place, and that's why Frost was considered as Poet Laureate. Now, what the poem is? The poem is only in 2 stanzas, and it contains a lot of things embedded in it. The poem is like, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to so say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. So you can easily find that the poet introduces the profound idea that the world would end in either of the 2 ways, either by ice or by fire. Both the components are compared with self-destructing human emotions, that is hatred and desire. The poem also artistically underpins the philosophy that will let our emotions rule us. And if we don't control our emotions, then they will surely destroy everything around us. So similarly, he thinks fire and ice both are just as competent in bringing the world to a catastrophic end. So the poet says, some say the world will end in fire. Some of them says that one day the world will end because of fire, whereas some say in ice. Then the poet says, from what I have tasted of desire, what he has observed, I hold with those who favor fire. Whatever he has observed, he says, I hold with them who favor fire. Actually, poet agrees with fire. But then he says, but if it had to perish twice, if he thinks that if the world is about to end twice, I think I know enough of it. He is knowing that destruction could also be brought because of the hatred, of the jealousy, and that's why he says to that say that what destruction, ice is also great, and in that case ice is also great, and it would also end the world. So that's why the poet introduces fire and ice and says that the world is going to end in either of the two ways. Either it is going to end by ice or by fire. So both the components are self-destructing. You can easily understand that in what way humans are increasing the global warming. It could also be the same theme of the poem, in which the poem very artistically underpins the philosophy that we let the emotions rule us. We are bound by our emotions, and those emotions can harm us. They can destroy everything around us. So poet thinks that fire and ice both are very competent, very perfect in bringing the world to a catastrophic end. So this poem has a beautiful summary. That poem says it is a strong symbolic poem. What is symbolism? As I have already described, symbolism is a figure of speech in which a sentence is used in order to display something, in a word is used to display something meaning other than that. Whereas in the present piece of poem, fire and ice are portrayed, where fire is used as the emotion of desire and ice that of hatred. He is also using the idea of two groups who have their own possible explanation for the end of the world. There are two different persons who are having their own mentality, who are having their own thinking that the world is going to end in this two way. The first one is thinking that fire alone can destroy each and every possibility of life, means the global warming and everything can destroy. Whereas the second one thinks that if ice, as a result of extreme low temperature, would also cover Earth's surface, so it would also tend to the end of the world. So both the components are compared with self-destructing human emotions. You can easily understand there are two self-destructing human emotions, and what are they? They are desire and hatred. The poet actually thinks in originality that he is also associated with the fairy desires which are very fairy, means which are very fearsome, which are very, you can say, they frighten us a lot, frightening. And he considers the fire capable of bringing human beings on the verge of destruction. So that's why he considers fire as more competent for destruction. But then he thinks that icy hatred, it is also capable of ruining humans through slowly and steadily process. Means when we are having hatred towards someone, we are harming ourselves very slowly but steadily. So if earth is going to end twice, ice would be just as good as fire. If fire would lead to rapid destruction, ice would lead to silent damage. So similarly, if fire is pure passion, ice is pure reason. So the poem very artistically underpins the philosophy that will let our emotions rule us. Poet tells us that If we are guided by our emotions, and if we are not going to control them, they will surely bring us all on the verge of chaos. They are going to destroy us, they are going to bring us to the verge of chaos. Now, there are many themes in the poem. The first one is global warming. So, Frost's discovery about he thinks about the destruction of Earth by fire. If you can take literally, it bears many similarities with the currently prevalent theory about global warming. You can easily consider the activities of man has brought so much change in the global temperature, which is leading to the melting of glaciers, and hence it can also destroy us. Or he also thinks about bringing of ice age. Actually, environmentalists are also contemplating on this issue also. This also says that the earth will experience another ice age, which we have observed, which we have read in our books when we are dealing with the extinction of the dinosaurs. As dinosaurs has ended their lives because of ice age, similarly we might go. Then the third theme of the poem is power of desire. Frost also compares fire with human desire, and that is why he says passion is very fiery, very fearsome. Poet also says that love and desire can make a man take extreme measures. If you are bounded by someone's love, if you are desiring something, you can take every action. If it has been rightly said that if a man determines, if a man desires something from the depth of the heart, but the whole universe conspires in favor of him. So the man's biggest desire is to accumulate wealth, or to possess even another person. This desire brings greed, envy, and jealousy. So hence, desire and all its allied emotions can make a man kill others to get what he wants. Apart from that, it also brings power of hatred. Frost compares ice to hatred. He says that's why when we hate someone, we choose to ignore them. We have a cold heart towards them. We are giving them a cold shoulder. But this is not always the case. Instead of ignoring the person we hate, we take the matters into our own hands. Thus, hatred can also lead us to kill. So, these can be the possible themes of the poem. Now, let us come to the figures of speech. There are several rhyming schemes like ABA, ABB, ABC, BC. This is the rhyming scheme of the poem. Assonance is used here. Assonance is a figure of speech in which a vowel sound is repeated in the same line. The repetition is at different places in different words. You can easily take the example of long sound of O in I hold with those who favor fire. Alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound at the start of two or more closely placed words. Like you can read in the word favor fire, world will. Imagery is also used over here. It is used to make readers perceive things involving their five senses. Like the example is there, some say the world will end in fire. To say that for destruction, ice is also great. This is the line which is used over there. Apart from that, anaphora is also used. Anaphora is the repetition of a word or expression at the start of two or more consecutive lines. Likewise, some say, the word some say is repeated at the start of line 1 and 2. Personification is also used. Personification is to give human qualities to inanimate object. What is personification? When we personify, when we give non-living thing human attributes, human qualities, it is called as personification. So in this poem, fire and ice are capable of destruction. So thus the poet personifies fire and ice by giving them mind and power to destroy anything. And the last is enjambment. Enjambment is that figure of speech which is defined as the thought or clause that does not come to an end at a line break. Means the line continues in the second stanza or in the second line, the meaning continues in the second line, and that is enjambment. So you can also look in the example from what I have tested of desire, that alone cannot give you the proper sense, but with I hold with those who favor fire, it is applicable. So these two lines are required to complete the sense of the sentence. That's why enjambment is applied over here. Now here are some exercises. You have to do these exercises. They are extract based. Read the extract given below and answer the questions that follow. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I have tested of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. You have to go through the questions and then solve the answers. Apart from that, there are some more questions in which you have to write in 30 to 40 words. That's the end of the chapter. If you have any problem, you can ask me on my WhatsApp number, and if you wish to have any more detail, you can call me over there. Apart from that, don't forget to subscribe the channel